Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number 122. Yeah, I know, guys, this month's a little bit late. That's all my fault. So let me just start off by saying I'm sorry. I got a few emails from folks saying, hey, where's the podcast? It's the second Monday. You haven't released it. Cybersecurity Month kicked my butt. And yes, for those of you counting, this will be the first time in 122 months that I was late. I'm sorry. I will try to not let that happen again. But let's go on to more important things, like our guest for today. As you know, I'm a huge fan of nonverbals, body language, facial expressions, and in a recent interview, which you all heard last month from Joe Navarro, he told me about this wonderful person that he met over in Europe where he was doing a training class, Anne, and he introduced me to her, and she runs a behavioral analysis company that helps people with influence, nonverbals, body language, facial expressions, and all really how to use those to communicate more effectively and get things that you want. And I thought we'd have her on the show. So give me a sec and let's get Anne on the show. Okay, Justin, small break, and I am going to now do the commercial. Let's take a small break from the show to discuss what is going on in the world of social engineer, because there is literally just a ton. Okay, if you haven't noticed, and I've been asked a lot, we finally released our training schedule on our website, on the social-engineer.com site. So you might want to run over there and check it out. First and foremost, February 20 through 22nd of 2020, right here in Orlando at the Hilton Orlando Buena Vista Palace. We are running the first human hacking conference ever. You just need to go to the website and check out who's coming to this. It is truly, truly ridiculous. Prices just increased, but not by that much. But they're going to sadly continue to increase until we oversell or fill the conference. But check that out at sevillage.org. That is February 20, 21, and 22 of 2020 here in Orlando. Go check that out. Next, in March, this will be March 16th through the 20th, going right here in Orlando too. We have the Advanced Practical Social Engineering course, the APSE class taking place. There's only 22 slots in that class, so you're going to want to get into that before it fills. We have our master's level class, which I won't tease you and talk about that, but if you are an APSE student, you should be seeing your invite or should have your invite. That class is basically almost full, so if you have your invite and haven't signed up yet, do that. And then we have our Advanced Practical Social Engineering class in Bristol, June 1 through 5, coming right in the beautiful city of Bristol in the UK. That class, I believe, is already over a quarter full, so we want to get you in there if you're interested in that. That is a smaller classroom, so we only have 16 seats available there, and that one tends to sell out pretty early. Anyhow, that's our upcoming training and conference schedule. We'll be doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and I'm sure I'll update the website on that. And don't forget to pay attention at the end of our interview today with Anne for a wonderful little commercial all about SE Village. Stay tuned for that. Let's get back to our show. We are back with our guest, Anne Oud, and I'm sure that I'm even going to try as an American to say your actual real name, so maybe you can do that for us.
I can do that, Chris. It's Anne-Maartje Oud. But that's very difficult. You can call me Anne. That is easy.
Thank you so much for the kindness. I appreciate that. So as I was mentioning before in the introduction, Anne started her career off really focusing in the School of Arts on acting, and then got an interest into not only nonverbals, but how people behave. And in 2006, if I read that correctly, you started your own company, really helping people to learn not just the nonverbals, but influencing others, communication skills, leadership skills, and behavior skills.
Totally correct. Yes.
What got you interested in that, from School of Arts to this field? How did you bridge that gap?
So when it comes to the academy, it wasn't just about acting; it was also about directing. And in my final year, I was asked to give a workshop on stage presence. And this was, for me, very funny because there were these bank directors and they wanted to know about stage presence because they had to present numbers and they wanted to know how to come across in a specific way. They wanted to deliver this presentation very well. So I taught them a bit about nonverbals on stage, how you can make eye contact and how you can connect with the audience. And for me, this was very normal. I thought everybody knew this, kind of naive, I would say. And they were astounded and they were so eager to learn. And they asked all these questions, but what do you do with your voice and everything? And I didn't understand. So at that point, I thought, wait a minute, maybe there is something here that not everybody knows. And then and there, I decided to use this in a different way. And actually, I wrote my thesis on what can somebody in the theater bring to business situations. And so I started from there.
So, what's funny is oftentimes this happened to me too. Things that I think are just common sense or second nature because I've been doing them for so long. And then you say it to somebody as in passing, and they look at you like you just gave them the cure to some horrible disease, or you can walk on water. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize that was that groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It always makes me feel bad,
It does make you feel. And why does it make you feel bad? I have the same thing, but I would love to know why it makes you feel bad.
Well, because I said it, like if I'm teaching, right? If I'm in a classroom and I'm teaching and people are paying me to speak or teach, and I say something like that, I feel good. But when I'm just in a conversation with someone and I say something that to me was almost like talking about lunch,
Exactly.
Yeah, that burger was good. And then they look at you like, what? Like you're the second coming of the Messiah. I feel guilty because I'm like, I talked about it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And to them, it was this groundbreaking piece of knowledge. It just makes me feel a little guilty.
Yeah, well, they don't look at me if I'm the Messiah, so I haven't experienced that. You should tell me about how that is. But I understand because sometimes it feels you don't want to be condescending or something like that. And in a way, it's also nice because people, like I said, I love it when people want to know about things. But when you accidentally say it, it comes across a bit weird because it's so normal to yourself. So I understand. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. Is how you handle it afterward. Like I've never done this, fortunately, but like when someone is in shock, go, well, how did you not know this? This is the simplest thing on the planet. That would be very cruel. So fortunately, it's that, like you said, I don't want to ever come off condescending because that would definitely ruin the whole gist of what we're supposed to be doing here, right?
Yeah, what I do, I usually ask, can you tell me why this is so new to you, or what does strike you so much? Because it's usually not the whole message, but just a part that it connects with them. So I try to understand, like, okay, what was it specifically, and why does this help you so much, or why do you think this is so useful? So I try to even understand why it's so useful for them. And then that helps me in future situations because then they educate you on, hey, this is not normal. Not everybody knows this. So yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of going about it. So how about behavior? Like what is it that you study or research or are you interested in when it comes to behavior that you are trying to work with people on?
Could I say everything?
You can, and then I'm going to ask you more specifics.
Yeah, it's. I would say that is actually the problem because there's so much to learn and so much to see. And the thing is, I'm very curious all the time about how people react, not just how they react themselves, but also when they're interacting with each other. What's going on? Why is it not going the way they want it to go? What is their goal? Why are they not succeeding? So what I do, and this is also the way I teach, is a kind of 3-step method. Is that we try to, the word is scrutinize, I would say. We scrutinize, like, what is the behavior? What are you doing? Is it effective on what you want to achieve? And if it's not, then what can you do differently? What should you adapt? What should you change? And if that is the case, how can you do it? How can you teach yourself? How can you adapt? So these 3 points, that is what makes me curious. So the becoming aware, becoming aware of what you can change and how to change it. And that means you have to study a lot of things like psychology, nonverbal communication, group patterns. So I would say everything.
But there's an interesting point that you bring out there, because I find this to be the case with a lot of people, that being unaware is really one of the biggest problems that we have in communication. So how do you help someone become aware of things that they may be doing in their nonverbals or in their behavior that could be hurting their communications? How do you help them become aware of that?
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying that they need to want to know about this. In the past, I think I've made some mistakes myself on trying to address things that are not necessary to address just because of I thought, oh, this could be interesting for somebody to know. So when you talk about becoming aware, I think there needs to be a necessity for people. So sometimes that could be from a positive point of view. I'm doing very well, but I don't know how this is possible. I'm achieving my sales goals, but I don't know what I'm doing right. Or the other way around, I'm not achieving my goals, or I cannot get along with people. How is that possible? And then when they have this willingness, I think, or at least that's what I do, why people hire me, is you interact with them. You look at patterns, you look at behavior, you talk about thoughts, nonverbals, and then you give them feedback on that. So very specific feedback on what you see or what you hear or how this person comes across. And that is usually very new to them, because a lot of people, especially in higher up organizations or higher up in the organization, they don't get a lot of feedback anymore. Sometimes people are afraid to give feedback or to get feedback. So yeah, so
Well,
I would say feedback as an answer to make a long story short.
No, but I think that's a really valuable point. The first thing you said, which is they have to be willing and they have to want it, because just walking up to someone that you've observed, whether it's family or
Yes.
friends, and go, "Hey, do you
Hey.
know why that last conversation stunk so bad? It's because you did all these things
Yeah.
wrong."
Yeah.
That is horrible, right?
Yeah, I know.
And we've all done it. I know.
Okay, I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you say that.
I heard it in your voice, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let you suffer here alone.
Yeah, thank you.
When I first started learning all of this, and I had the privilege of working with Dr. Ekman and learning nonverbals, and when it became like a superpower, right? So you're reading facial expressions, and all of a sudden you feel like you know what someone is feeling or thinking without them having to say it. And I've done that way too many times. Like call people out. And now I make this a point during my classes to teach, like, just because you can see what someone is feeling doesn't mean you have the right to say it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That can really alienate people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go right ahead. I want to hear what you had to say.
No, it's not just like calling it out, but also when you see people being frustrated in a situation, you can actually see their like "help me" on their face, and then it's also, I think it has to do with ego as well, that you're sometimes like, oh, I want to help you. But I'm glad I'm not alone. But I changed that during the years. Now I only do it when people deliberately ask, "Hey, can you help me out? I'm struggling with something. I don't know how to say no to my boss. What's going on?" Those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and when people are open to that, what I find is that it's so much easier to work with them on anything, because they're come to you and they say, okay, I'm having this issue. I don't know why I'm having it. Can you help me out? That just opens the door for so much.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. True.
So give me an example. Like what's maybe one of the more common behavioral or nonverbal traits you see that create a problem for people in communicating with just everyday communications. Nothing super special, but give me a common problem that you see.
Well, that is a good question. I think if I look at a lot of examples that I come across in work, but also in personal settings, is that people try to influence others with content. So they think that if they have good arguments or if they have thought of a specific sentence very well, then they think, oh, this is going to help me. This is going to influence the situation. And I would say that they're very unaware of either their body language or the tone of voice or even the distance, all the kind of things we teach, that they are not aware of it. And then when they see it's not working, that they don't understand it has nothing to do with the content. Of course, content is important, but I think that people focus too much on content. Yeah. Would you say that's the same?
You know what? It's interesting. I was when you were saying that, I was thinking about this young woman that I had come to a class. She's a Zumba instructor, out of all things. Coming to a technical class was interesting. But we do a whole section on nonverbals, and then they go out and they do homework and they interact with complete strangers. And she was a young, very attractive woman. Thought there's no way she's going to have a problem interacting with just everybody, right? Just people are going to. She had a happy look to herself. She was bubbly personality. Everyone's going to want to talk to her. And she was coming back night after night saying, man, I'm having problems. Like the conversation starts good, and then it just goes bad. And I said, okay, on Friday, I'm going to go out and watch you interact with somebody, and we'll see if we can pinpoint something. So I had my phone out and I was videotaping covertly. And I watched her do this thing where she would, interact with someone. Everyone would be very warm. And then she would ask her first question. And as she waited for the answer, she put anger on her face. But it wasn't that she was angry.
Yeah.
Right? She just was in this concentrated face. But
like
when
anger,
she was it looked much like anger. And I actually watched this guy literally lean back away from her and go, hey, I don't know, man, I'm sorry, and just walk away.
That's a good story, yeah.
And she walked up to me and she said, well, this is every night. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so easy to fix. Let's talk about it. And I showed her the video and she's like, I never knew I was doing that.
Fantastic. I love these. Because then again, you make them aware. Maybe interesting, I have a similar story about a CEO who was trying and trying and trying to get a certain message across in his team with managers. And he didn't succeed, and there were endless meetings. And he was like, "Okay, I think we need to hire you because this is taking up. This is not working." And so I'm sitting there, and he was endless talking, very elaborate, up to the point where people fall asleep, I would say. So I am allowed to ask, not always very nice questions. So I said, sorry, I don't understand. Could you just repeat it again, but then in a shorter amount of time? And he tried to do it again. And I said, no, again, make it 2 or 3 sentences, because you're giving so much information. You're taking away from this specific subject. So he did this. And the whole room was like, oh, thank you. Now we understand. So afterwards, they came up to me, so the managers, and they said, thank you so much for addressing this, because we didn't dare to give him feedback. But the best part was the CEO came up to me and he said, thank you, because I've never realized I've been saying too much, too many sentences, instead of, okay, this is what I want to get across. So that was really funny. Yeah. And then you could say it's about content, but it's also being elaborate yeah.
Well, I think content, though, like you said before, it comes after all of that, because if you can have what I found, you can have the best content on the planet, but if the first thing people see turns them off, the content is going to have to work twice or 3 times as hard just to get the interest level back.
Yes. And what I also think is it's so important to combine everything, because a lot of people pick up on one thing, like, oh, I should make eye contact. So the lady you were just talking about, maybe she, okay, I'm making eye contact, and you addressing how she comes across. Yes, but I'm making eye contact. Yeah, but maybe you weren't aware of the fact that you have a very low blink rate, and that comes across as something as well. So then you can talk about all these other things, like the whole body language or the whole behavior. I always think it's funny if you say, yeah, there's not just one element, but you look at everything. Yeah.
So if you had to say like one piece of advice for somebody, let's say they're going to go on a job interview, or they're going to be interacting with some strangers this week. What is one thing that you would tell someone to just, because, like you said, everything, it could be hard to focus on it all, but what's one thing that they can try to just see a difference in the way they communicate?
I would say two things, if that's allowed. Try to stay relaxed, because usually when you are comfortable, you feel good. And when you are comfortable, you have more space, room, time to also look at the other person and see the effect you're having on that other person. And then it's all about observation. So if you look at the other person and you see, well, I think you've talked about this with Joe Navarro as well, the baseline we try to come up with. Okay, what's the baseline here? And if you're comfortable yourself and you can observe others and you see a change in the baseline, you can also kind of observe yourself, like, is there something I'm doing that might not be having the effect that I want? And then you can change. So if I would say two things: being calm, relaxed, and observe, that is always the best thing.
And observing seems to indicate that you have to do less talking and more listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting, which oftentimes I think when you're new to trying to communicate, or if you're trying to impress or whatever, you feel the very opposite, that you are a little nervous and you want to do a lot more talking as opposed to a lot more listening.
Yeah, probably. I'm talking very much now as well. Normally I would listen and say, hey, Chris, can you tell me a story? Yeah, I think that
we're
is the case.
interviewing you, so you have to talk more.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
No one wants to hear from me. They don't want to hear from you on this.
Yeah, but normally it's the other way around, as you know. So then you ask people, so what's happening in your job? What's going on? Why do you not succeed? And then the other people are talking. So it is a bit different. But I would say observing means you have to see and to look. And not to the point where you fully lose yourself just in looking at the other person, but I think that would really be helpful. Yeah.
And so you're not from America. So where are you from originally?
I'm from the Netherlands.
So how much does culture play into all of this? Being that, and this is a great question I get asked all the time. And even though we're both Western cultures, how does that play? You being from the Netherlands, and the fact that you are, we're both from Western cultures, but you're not from America. If you interact with people from America, how would that affect? How would the cultural differences play into the communication, either styles or the communication abilities, or would it have an effect at all?
I would say it has an effect. So I'm from the Netherlands originally, and we are known to be blunt. So that's not always very pleasant, I've been told. On the other hand, people like it. So I'm not a cultural expert. I do work with different cultures, and also people hire us in other countries. And there you can actually say they like the bluntness, not up to the point where you're being rude, but so for instance, in London, I gave a lot of training sessions, and then they're kind of a bit nervous, like, oh, we're going to give each other feedback. How is this going to go? There's this Dutch lady that wants us to tell us each other how we feel about each other, or not feel, but how we come across. So they're a bit scared, but on the other hand, and this has been my experience, a lot of people like it. Not if you're being rude, but if you can back up your feedback, then people like this. So there is a cultural point where you have to be careful, or where you have to be a bit more calm. And I would say if you understand that part, you can again look for the comfort. I must say there's one thing that we changed, because in the Netherlands we have a tagline. I'm not allowed, if I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but our company tagline is, "We kick you up the bum." So we kick people up the bum, but we translate that. So when we're working abroad, is we help you to step up to the plate. So that might be a cultural difference there.
Yeah. So in America, that probably wouldn't offend too many people, but I guarantee there may be some British or other cultures where that's like, what are you saying?
Yeah, but when I tell them, it's kind of funny because they also like it, and it depends on how you do it. So I think you can work with every culture, again, if you're just aware of the differences and try to help each other out. I don't think that cultural differences can of course, it's difficult sometimes, but I think if you really want to work with one another and try to help each other and create comfort for both parties, I think it's fine. But bluntness, yeah, the Dutch are known to being blunt. So sorry if I've been blunt in any way.
No, I love it. So that's great.
Okay. Yeah.
So would you say that if you were going to be negotiating or dealing or interacting with someone or a group of people from a different culture,
Mm-hmm.
that there would be benefit in doing preemptive research into the different aspects of that culture, like things like handshakes or stances or body language or other things that may be acceptable or not acceptable in that culture?
So I'm not a cultural expert, but I think it's always important to, if you want to interact with somebody, that you have to courtesy to know about the person you're talking uh, with and their culture. And I think I do that as well, but also you have to be aware of your own culture, but not to the part where you are being too strict on both ends. And I would say if people are I'm not a cultural expert, but if people are intrigued on this subject, they should definitely look up. This is a Dutch guy as well, Geert Hofstede. You probably call him. It's difficult to.
I have
No,
not heard of him.
no, that's
Nope.
okay. Well, that would be the takeaway from this setting then, because he did some very interesting research on cultural differences and also how that works in organizations. And he came up with these dimensions to define different cultures. So it makes it very easy. Like if you have a conversation in a different culture, you can look at those 5 dimensions and go from there. But again,
Did he write a book about it, or did he write about it online?
well, I think he wrote a book about it, but I don't know. He did a
That's
lot of
okay. I
studies,
can
so
add it
I'm
to
not
the
quite
show
sure if there's
notes.
a book, but you can definitely find his research online. But yeah, it's
Excellent.
pretty good, and it's also
Yeah, that's always good to have those resources because that's a question that we get a lot, especially I don't know how it is in the Netherlands, but America's like a melting pot
mhm,
of cultures. So it's you're not gonna just deal with the same culture no matter where you go. You're gonna be dealing with people from all different walks of
true.
life.
But what I always say, and I'm sorry if we see this in a different way, but what people, I would say, a lot of people make the mistake just to look at the culture, and I would love it if we would just look at people, the person, because even in the Dutch culture,
Mm,
we being said to be blunt, I come across a lot of people who are very shy and don't dare to stand up for themselves. So then you could say, are they Dutch? Are they showing that specific culture? So it's much easier, I would say, if you just you can prepare yourself on cultural things, but also say, this is the person sitting across from me now. What is their behavior? Or if it's not just one person, what's the group behavior? And that would really help, I would say. But that's just my
yeah.
opinion.
No, that's
Yeah,
great
yeah.
advice. That's great advice. A lot of times, like you said, I think in the beginning of our discussion, it's communications, conversations, things like this. There's so many
Hmm.
pieces to it. There's so many different, and you can't just walk in and like have
No,
this plan
exactly.
for every second of the conversation. You'll spend
It's
too much
so
time thinking about
difficult. It is difficult.
what
It's
you're
a
not
wonder in
doing.
a way that we can all communicate. And as you said before, it can get crazy if you think about it too much, especially I think when you're in the business like we are, you should be aware that you also we're all humans and we should allow ourselves to make mistakes. But it's pretty intense if you look at communication and how things. Well, let me say it positive. When things go right, it's really fantastic to figure out why. Because that's also
Yes.
fun. We talk about negatives a lot, like why you do not succeed, or what you said with the lady, why she doesn't when she isn't able to have a further conversation. But what is also very interesting that a lot of people don't know why they're very good at specific things, and that
Mm,
is I love to make them aware of that as well. It's
that's
very
a
nice if they understand. Oh, thank you. People like compliments, but if it's a genuine compliment backed up with behavior, it means something. You can say, "Hey, Chris, you're very nice and you're very friendly." But if I can say, hey, Chris, you're very nice and friendly because you have this laugh during this interview and you ask all these questions with a very energetic voice, you make me feel comfortable, then I think you understand it. Well, you don't need feedback, but
No,
that's a
no,
different
feedback is good for
way.
everybody.
Yeah, that is a different way of feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that thought. So many times, and I don't know if it's how it's done in other places, but I know like in here in the States, we do reviews for employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And generally the review throughout history, at least from my understanding, has been a time when a boss is supposed to tell the employee all the things they can do to improve and work on to be a
Yes.
better
Mm-hmm.
employee. And although that's useful, right? That's really useful. What we've done many times is pick out the things that they're doing great,
Mm-hmm.
to tell them, hey, here are the things that you've done great over the last quarter, and we've noticed it and we've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
and we're really appreciative of it. And, keep on doing those things. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and by the way, here's maybe a thing you can work on, but,
Mm-hmm.
keep doing those other awesome things too. And
Mm-hmm.
we find that there's so much more compliance with
Yes.
with things when you talk to someone that way, as opposed to when the quarterly review comes around, all they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking is, oh man, this is the week where I'm going to get chewed out again.
Exactly. And then they are very reluctant to go to that meeting. So during the reviews, do they only talk about output or also behavior? Like how they come across in a team or
So that's a good. I don't know how it's done everywhere, but I
mm-hmm.
can tell you for us, one of the things that we learned, and we learned by actually doing it wrong,
Mm.
is to start hiring for with cultural aspects in mind. And that when I
Mm-hmm.
say that, I don't mean culture as in like the culture of the person, but the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are, let's say, we're a very diverse company. We are a remote company, which means we don't have a central office,
Mm-hmm.
and we're over 60% women.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just say, and we're very open and jokey and
Yeah.
close as a group.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to, let's say, hire a man who were right away to come in during the interview and say negative things about women, culturally, he doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't get hired, right? And if I
Mm-hmm.
were to hire him, we would understand that hiring him is probably going to lead to problems within the team,
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't fit us culturally. Or
Mm-hmm.
someone who can't take a joke, or someone who doesn't have a sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
also is going to have a really hard time with our team, because we're constantly joking and sending memes back and forth and being
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. So,
Mm-hmm.
like looking for that right fit for the person, what we
Yeah.
call here the cultural fit, is looking for someone who can, and again, it doesn't matter where you're from. It just matters, can you handle that type of work environment?
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
we find that when we do that right, and we've done it right in the last couple of years, when we do it right, then the discussions on those reviews are less about those kind of behaviors, because it already fits.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And then if there's a problem, like somebody took it too far, or somebody said something a little bit, um, that was taken the wrong way, or might have been a
Mm-hmm.
little mean, well, then it's easy to say, hey, and by the way, a couple weeks ago, there was a little disagreement. This was said. You may want to just have a discussion with so and so about that, so there's
Mm-hmm.
no hard feelings.
Yeah, perfect.
You know, and we find it works out so much easier to have people
Yeah.
come, together to really work well together.
So, but here, this is where I think it's interesting. What if you find this candidate who's really, really good, also up to a point where you think the culture fits, but there might be small things that you don't really know yet. Would you then choose not to go for it? Or would you say, yes, this is possible because that person might be able to adapt a certain part of their behavior? Because,
That's
yeah.
a great question, and I think it would depend on what it is. And I think the key to what you said is, how easy was it to discern? I mean, we hired people that on the outside, super great. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they just looked like they were gonna. Education was great. They were hard workers. Looked on the surface like they were going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then this one person turned out to be really, really arrogant,
Mm-hmm.
and that never came across in the interview. And it wasn't like they were arrogant in the sense they walked around demeaning other people, but
Mm-hmm.
it was in the way they asserted their opinion,
Yes.
that it was more important than others, or the way that they demanded pay or other things like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And it became an issue to where we no longer work together.
Wow.
But that wasn't evident upon the interview.
Yeah, because I
It
think
came out later.
interviews, you don't get a lot. Of course, you can have information in an interview, but again, what I mean with the behavior, if you set people in a setting where they have to act, where they have to do stuff, where
Yeah.
they have, then you will pick up on the behavior more than when it's just, hey, how are you doing? What would you do in a specific situation? Because if you can see it, or if you have this, I always love team meetings because there you can see the patterns. That's my favorite part when they hire me for the observation of team meetings, because people are so in it and focusing on their own goal that they forget that patterns are visible and that their behavior is visible. So when you see somebody want to hire in an interaction setting with others, you pick up on way more, I would say, than just an interview. And then I wouldn't say that this person will be arrogant in the first meeting, but yeah, that's helpful, because then they cannot, well, maybe they cannot hide. I think that could be the word, not deliberately, but yeah.
I agree with that. I think
Mm-hmm.
for us, what we try to do during the interview process, because again, we're remote, so we're doing these over
Mm-hmm.
video conferences,
Mm-hmm.
is if we want to make sure that any problems could be dissuade, like
Mm-hmm.
let's say we're worried about a man not treating a woman right, then we'll have one of our female coworkers on the interview
Mm-hmm.
and asking questions. So how does he treat that? If we are worried about humor, I'll be a little more jovial and jokey during to see if they can handle it or not, right?
Okay. I'm
So
curious.
we
Yeah.
try to do these little tests just to see like if it works out.
Yes.
But we also employ something called DISC, which is I'm not sure if you've
Yeah.
heard of that, but
Yes, I have.
so we employ DISC communication profiling tests with potential employees and we ask them, we tell them why. Can you take this test? We're going to pay for it. And the purpose is to see your communication profile, and that helps us learn where you might be a match in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if we're hiring for a particular purpose, like we were hiring like an office manager, executive assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew we wanted a very detailed, organized
Mm-hmm.
person who was more about the facts and data. So
Mm-hmm.
we knew we wanted a C-type communicator. So
Mm-hmm.
when we got down to our final 3 candidates, we gave them all a DISC profile
Mm-hmm.
test, and then we chose the one who was the C, and she's amazing. She is just truly like one of the best people
Congratulations.
I've ever worked with. Yeah,
Yeah, that's perfect.
and and it was done. That process was followed by us, and it ended up being really successful. Like we really have a great relationship, and she is
Good.
a really hard worker and fits the role perfectly.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, so we try to use different things like that, but I think you're right. You don't always see everything.
No.
You don't always see it all during the interview.
No, and I would say, even when people are working together for many years, I think that there's this blindness on behavior, because sometimes people don't dare to address it.
Mm.
And I'm very happy that you found this perfect coworker. And then I don't know how long she works there right now, but there might be situations coming in the future where, like, oh, okay, how should I address this? And of course, you don't have a problem with it, but other people in other companies, they don't know how to address it, or they don't know. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, what.
we take the disc profiles for every person, me included, and they go
Mm-hmm.
on our intranet, and
Mm-hmm.
we tell every employee, like, look, if someone wants to come talk to me about something, you can go read my profile first to see
Ah,
what communication will work, right?
okay.
So we do these things with our people to
Yeah.
try to enhance our ability to communicate openly and
Yeah.
effectively,
But
and
then
that way
still
we're
sorry. Yeah.
no, go ahead, no.
No, no, I was interrupting you. So you said that you want to try to make
Yeah,
them.
we just like to have like we try to give as many tools and assets as we possibly can to make better communications, and we're still not perfect, right? I mean, things
Mhm.
don't always go right. I'm usually the first one to mess it all up and do something wrong, so it happens
Yeah.
often. Still, even though we have all the tools, I can't
Yeah.
imagine how much worse it would be if we didn't have all of these things in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, I love it when you allow your colleagues or coworkers to have tools, because that's really helpful. And again, I would really stress out, I'm an advocate for behavior on this part, because even if people know everything, like mentally they know everything, they know your whole disc profile, they know how they should address you, then still they have to adapt their style. And that is hard for people. So
Hmm.
even if they have all the tools in the world and all the kind of guidelines and everything, they still have to adapt it in their own style and behavior. And sometimes it's sad to see, like, oh, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. Yeah, so if you could help them with that, then it's all perfect. Then you have the best company in the world, Chris. Yeah.
And even, and I love what you said, because even though we have the tools, sometimes it's not only having to adapt, but sometimes you don't want to. Like
True.
I've
Yes.
had situations with employees that weren't acting right, and I know from reading their disc that the best way to communicate with them would be to sit down and have a
Hmm.
fun,
Yes.
lively conversation that would motivate them. But I am stressed and I am frustrated,
Yes.
so I don't care about what the best is right now. All I want is compliance. So I'm like, hey,
Do
you're being a
this.
jerk. Fix it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean with the comfort for yourself. If you adapt too much, you will lose your own style. And then it's,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I should say this, and then it's going to be perfect. But if you lose your own comfort, then you're kind of becoming this robot who adapts to everything. So no, I wouldn't be an advocate for that. If you have this idea, okay, you have to do this. This is what I want to say now. Then at least you're genuine. But then you should know the effect. So yeah. Have you ever done something that would say, "Oh, that was really bad. I knew it, but I did it anyway."
Oh, like every day?
Oh, poor people around you.
I
Okay.
know. It's
Yeah.
terrible. That's what I mean. I should be Dutch. I'm very, very blunt.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
But so I see you had Joe, which we talked about him briefly, but Joe's a good friend of mine, and you see you had him over at a conference. How did
Yes.
that go?
Fantastic. It was one of, I would say it was one of my dreams, if you say a goal in your life, is that
I understand.
because I read his book, What Everybody's Saying, 10 years ago, and I thought this is absolutely perfect. Everybody should focus on this. And then I started from there, adapting it into the company and all those kind of things. And then a year ago, I don't really remember exactly how it started, but it was on Twitter. And then I had this idea, like, why not organize a course in the Netherlands so that people can see him live? Because that's rare. You can hardly. I haven't. I searched
Yeah,
for
he
it,
doesn't do many
and
public things, that's for sure.
no, he doesn't. And so, yeah, I thought, why not? I could at least ask him. And it was fantastic because he loved the idea as well. Because the benefit would be that it would be an open course. So usually he gets hired by businesses or companies. And in this case, it would be possible for people everywhere from everywhere to attend. Now, it was in Amsterdam, so we aimed for the European market, but I was super, super shocked and happily surprised that people from all over the world came. So from Malaysia, the Arabic Emirates, Croatia, well, that is Europe, but so that was fantastic up to the point where this year, or not this year, but 2020, he will also do a course in Amsterdam, but then 2 days because people wanted more.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. He's
that's wonderful. Well, congratulations on that and
Thank
accomplishing
you.
one of your dreams.
Yeah, that was really great. Yeah, it was really fantastic, and not just for that it happened, but also the people were so grateful, and that I think you understand that when we talked about the beginning, it's so rewarding when people are happy with what they learn. And at the end of this course, they came up to me. And like, thank you so much for organizing this. And of course, it was all Joe who delivered the content, but I felt like I accomplished the mission. Like, yes, people now know more
Yeah,
about nonverbal communication, so that feels really, really good. And I'm very
yeah,
happy that he's willing to do this again in 2020. Yeah.
that's phenomenal, because he, like we both know he doesn't do very many public events.
No.
I'm in the same boat as you. I got him to come to our conference here in February and
Yes,
give a
it's
training.
so great.
So like, yeah, we just need to celebrate that success, that we are getting Joe to come to our events, as both people who love nonverbals and love body language.
Yeah.
he is literally one of the best practitioners of it in the world.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll focus on Europe. You focus on America, and we'll both cheer for everything because it's yeah. I would say everybody should see it if they have the possibility.
I agree.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about you, where can they go to your website or social media, or what's the best way?
I'm on LinkedIn, so that's a platform that's used in Europe very much about so business wise. But if they are willing to or not willing, if they want to know more, then they can always go to the Behaviour Company site. And that's funny. When we work in England, it's not a problem because it's written in the English way. So
Uh-huh.
IOU are dot so behaviorcompany.eu. So that's where
I'll
you can
grab that
find.
link and I'll put it into our show notes
Thank you
because
so
you're
much.
right. It
Yeah.
will be spelled different than American spell behavior
Yes, it is
with
the
the U in there.
British way, indeed. The U in there. Yeah.
And then before we let you go, we ask every guest that comes on for a book or maybe a couple. We have avid readers in our listening base, so just wondering if you had, and they don't even have to be about the topic we talked about. They literally could be any kind of book that you think was amazing that you've read recently.
Yeah, I love that question because it's there's so many books out there, and of course, I would say "What Everybody Is Saying" by Joe Navarro, but I've heard that is already on the list, so I came up with
It
a
is, but that's
different.
okay. That's just the fact that it's another recommendation.
Another
Well,
one, another one is saying, yeah, it's a
yeah,
really, I mean, it's the best book out there. But there's another one I would recommend, and I also love that, especially when we talked about observation and all those, looking at the other person, but also looking at yourself, and that would be People Watching by Desmond Morris. I don't know if that's on the list already, but that's the one I
I
would
have not
recommend.
heard that one.
Hmm.
I'm writing that down. Desmond Morris. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Even if they are, what's great is sometimes what happens is maybe somebody recommended a book like a year ago or 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone else brings it up now again, but with a different thing that they loved about it, and it
Mm-hmm.
reinvigorates people to be like, okay, I didn't read that when I heard it the first time. I'm gonna go read it now.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So
Well,
yeah, so this is great,
well, again, we spread the word.
and I haven't read that one, so that's another
Oh.
one to add to my massive growing list of
Oh,
books that I
okay.
haven't
I'm
read
curious
yet.
what you think about it. You have to tell me one day. That would be great.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Anne, for coming on the show, chatting with us about what you're doing and what you're going to do in the future. It was fascinating, and really appreciate your time today.
Well, I would say exactly the same. Thank you so much for having me on the show and for all the fun questions. And I really wish you all the best. And thank you for this opportunity. It was really nice. Thank you.
I look forward to doing it again.
Great.
Another amazing interview. Anne is wonderful. Regardless if I can butcher her name or not, I think just that conversation was really, really awesome. Really enjoyed it. And fascinating to find another person with the same philosophies and same thoughts and same likes. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from Anne here at Social Engineer. If you want to stay in touch with us, of course, check out our conference page at sevillage.org, our corporate at social-engineer.com, and of course, our free site for social-engineer.org. You can follow us on Twitter at SEVillage, SOC Engineer Inc., or Human Hacker. Don't forget to check out the Innocent Lives page. Thank you for your continued support. And before we end, stay tuned for a wonderful little interview all about the upcoming conference in February here. And we'll see you next month.
See you.
We are here with our good friend Dov Barron to talk about the Social Engineer Village Conference in 2020. How you doing today, Dov?
Excellent. I'm really excited to come to the conference to hear everybody else speak. Forget me. I'm just coming to see everybody else. You got so many great speakers, Chris. I'm really excited about it.
I'm actually like a little upset. This seems to be the common theme with everybody I've been talking to.
Oh,
All
really?
the other workshop performers have said the same exact thing, that
Oh,
they're
right.
coming to listen to all of you.
That is so cool. I mean,
I think
what's great is when you have a bunch of people who are quote unquote experts who are excited to learn from the other experts. That's how you know when you've got a good conference, right? Is when the
I guess
experts are there to learn from the other experts.
I guess that's a good frame. Thank you
Yeah.
for reframing that. But I'm like, did all these people sign up just to get in to listen to these other people?
Yes, we did.
So Dov, tell us a little bit about you, your company, so people that are listening can just know a little about who you are.
Sure. Me, my company, my brand, my name is Dov Barron. Obviously, as you said, my company, or one of my companies, is Dov Barron International. I have been a speaker, trainer, and personal coach / mentor for about 35 years to leaders who range from CEOs, high-level entrepreneurs, athletes, entertainers, people in the entertainment industry, etc., and really helping people to find out what we call their primary drivers are, finding out what it is that really sets them on fire, how to go from success, and most of the people I deal with have a lot of that, but to go from success to significance and on from significance to fulfillment in order to build a legacy. So that's the work we do.
Awesome.
We do it with companies, we do it with individuals, and it's pretty exciting stuff.
And if anybody wants to hear a really great conversation with Dov, you can head on back to episode 104 of the SE podcast, where we had Dov on the show, and we had a really great time chatting with you there.
Thanks.
About,
I had a good time too.
That.
I think I sort of rattled Cat's cage a little bit.
Just a tad bit. Just a tad. But
Just
that's
a
okay.
tad. Yeah, that was good for everybody.
So now, February 2020, you're coming into the SE Village here in Orlando. You're going to be talking about how to thrive in the AI age, leadership skills in the year 2030.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if that's a misprint, but it doesn't sound like it. So tell us, what is this about, and what can people expect to walk away from?
So when we look at what's going on, it's pretty clear that AI is coming on, and it's coming on strong. And many people, as you know, in one of my books, Fiercely Loyal, I talk about leading millennials and how to lead millennials. And leading millennials is different than leading the previous generations. And one of the things I describe millennials as is the extreme screen time generation. But what we are about to have is the extreme AI generation. And those are Gen Z. Gen Z are today, at the eldest, already graduated. They're 19 years old. And by the time 2030 comes along, they're going to be a major force in the workforce. We are already being impacted by them. If you are a Gen Xer, which I believe you are, Chris, if you're a Gen Xer, you grew up with Game Boy and those kinds of things, but you had to go to your bedroom or you had to plug it into the TV to do it. Now, millennials play on their phones. Well, Gen Z will play virtually. And the thing about all of those things is that influences the way we do business. It influences the way we interact with each other. And what we all know is that we've become so very good at connecting with everybody through all these great technologies. But what we also know is that people are lacking how to connect with individuals, how to actually have an emotional connection with them. And that one of the things we are going to need to be able to do is to know how to tap into the emotional connection between human beings, because as technology becomes more advanced, we actually move further away from the human connection. And if you want to thrive as a leader, you've got to know exactly how to get into the human connection, to connect with somebody at super fast speed in a way that will grab their attention and hold it. Because as you know, people's attentions are less than that of a goldfish.
You know what fascinating me about this conference is I didn't give any of the other workshop performers or the workshop trainers any feedback on like how I wanted you to structure your workshops or anything like that, and yet all of you have seemed to come in with a very similar theme. Like,
It's
and
interesting.
I'm loving this.
Oh.
Like, when people come and they're starting to sign up for their workshops, when they leave, it's going to be like one giant continual course of excellence and how to communicate, how to make yourself better, how to become a leader, how to do all of these things to leave people feeling better for having met you and to better yourself, but from all these different experts from different angles.
Yeah.
Right? You're coming from the leadership angle, and Robin's coming from the trust and rapport
Yep.
angle, and Joe's coming from the nonverbal angle. And it's just like, I'm also wanting to sit through every one of these workshops, and now irritated at myself that it's impossible to do so.
Yeah, and you've made a great point, because my category, quote unquote, is leadership, and as you know, that's the work that I do with companies and individuals. But at the same time, the first thing I will say is that leadership is personal first. If you're not leading you, you're not really leading anybody else. It's a fallacy. Mm-hmm. And so, a good part of this, what you're going to understand, is how to lead yourself in a really effective way to get right down to the source of what it is that drives you, that primary driver. What is it that's the undercurrent? And really, there is such a deeper connection here than the surface level. This isn't about just getting the right strategy or technique, because there's a perfect nuance that is so subjective. And if we don't get connected to that in ourselves, we'll never connect with anybody else. So really finding how to really tap into it in yourself, so you go, oh, now I see what to do with other people. Mm-hmm. It makes so much sense. But if you do it in the other way around, which is what most people do, they go, oh, what's the technique I can use to get to these people? But you haven't really got to yourself. People can see that. The one thing I love about millennials is they've got massive bullshit meters. And so they can read your nonsense pretty quick. So you got to be really authentic, connected, and with yourself, so that you can connect with them.
I love it. I love it, because it's like, hey, I want to remain a jerk, but I want to figure out how to make you not one.
Exactly.
But yeah, you got to figure it out in yourself first before you can fix anyone else. Awesome.
Yeah. Powerful.
Well, if that doesn't get people interested to come see your workshop, I don't know what will. So, this is awesome.
I'm going to tell you what will. Here's the thing. Don't come to my workshop unless you're ready to really take a quantum leap. I love it. You got to be ready. So come with your psychological sleeves rolled up and ready to really look at you. Because if you can look at you in the way that I'm going to show you, you're going to see something that is magnificent. Because here's what you need to know. You, and by the way, this might be a secret. Nobody else might know this. But inside of your head, there's a part of you that says you're not good enough. And it's a lie. It's a big fat lie. And I'm going to show you how you are actually magnificent, how you are whole, complete, and magnificent, and that how you can tap into that to really bring the magnificence out in others.
I love it, man. Okay, Dov, if people want to know more about you before the conference, besides listening, I know you have an amazing podcast out there. They can go listen to the SE podcast you were on for our show, but where else can they find out more about you?
Thanks for asking, Chris. Yeah, you can find out more about me at fullmontyleadership.com. fullmontyleadership.com. You can go there. You can find out about the podcast. And there was this guy on there, Chris Hadnagy or something like that. Can't remember his name now. He was pretty good. So you can find Chris's episode on there. fullmontyleadership.com. You can find out about the podcast. You can find out about my YouTube channel. It's got over 650 videos. There's over 500 articles on there. There's all kinds of great resources and even a couple of gifts if you search around. It's fullmontyleadership.com. Excellent. Thank you for asking, Chris.
Oh, thank you. And I'm looking forward to February even more so now. And if you want to check it out, sevillage.org. Get on over there, register, sign up for Dov's workshop, and we'll see you in February. Thanks.